Shiny Pokemon are super rare. There's only a 1 in 4,096 chance of encountering one, which is pretty low. This was even worse because prior to Pokemon X and Y, there was only a 1 in 8,192 chance to encounter them. Of course, there are ways to increase the odds, but there's some shinies that are super rare no matter what. Here are some shiny Pokemon that are super hard to find. Keep watching to the end to see what the rarest shiny Pokemon of all time are. Kicking off the list, we have the SOS Metang in the Generation 7 games. Generation 7 introduced the SOS chaining feature where a wild Pokemon can call for help. KO enough allied Pokemon and shinies will start to appear. Sounds easy? Well, there's one issue with Beldum. Beldum only knows Takedown, which is a recoil move which causes damage to the user. A few unlucky turns and you have to reset to try again. Pokemon in the Safari Zone areas in various games are notorious for running away and they can escape regardless of the Pokemon species. Chansey is the most controversial, with it fleeing the most in the Generation 3 games. However, Beldum in the Heart Gold and Soul Silver Safari Zone is even worse. They have a catch rate of 3, which is on par with Legendary, so it's already going to be a hard time catching these Pokemon. But there's also a required waiting period of up to 70 days to catch them. Funnily enough, there was actually somebody who caught a Beldum, so shout out to this guy.
Pause. What the no cheats. Oh my god. Bro. Dude, there is actually no way. Oh my god. Oh my god.
What Pokemon Sword and Shield did introduce was Dynamax Adventures. You and 3 other players would go fight 3 Dynamax Pokemon, and at the end there would be a legendary boss. Now these adventures would take around 10 to 15 minutes to complete, which sounds bad but really isn't. The shiny odds in Dynamax Adventures are 1 in 300 without the shiny charm and 1 in 100 with the shiny charm. The shiny charm is an item that you get after completing the Pokédex for those who don't know. All Pokeballs thrown during Dynamax Adventures also result in a guaranteed capture every time. So the long encounter time isn't the problem. Then what is it? It's the legendary Pokemon themselves, particularly Zygarde. In addition to being an already strong Pokemon, Zygarde's ability means that when it's about to die, it actually gains around half of its HP. It also changes form, regenerating health and gaining a massive stat boost. It also has 2 powerful spread moves, meaning it can wipe your entire team very quickly. Luckily, that's not the only way to get a shiny Zygarde, because there was a code back in 2017 for the Generation 7 games. The code contained a shiny Zygarde, and I checked and I still have mine, and it's one of my favorite overall shinies. My favorite shiny of all time, however, is Greninja. Tell me your favorite shiny down in the comments below, and while you're down there, you might as well subscribe to the channel for boosted shiny odds. On the topic of legendaries, roaming legendaries in Heart Gold and Soul Silver also made this list. In order to hunt a roaming legendary, you first need to save your game, and then wander around the region until the legendary is encountered. If it's not shiny, you need to repeat the process. The reason why this is so hard to do is that you cannot pin where the Pokemon is going to be. You just kind of have to guess. And also, they can run away, meaning you need to have a Pokemon with Roar to ensure that they don't escape. When you cook curry in Pokemon Sword and Shield camp, it can actually attract wild Pokemon which actually have a chance to be shiny. The issue is that finding a regular Pokemon is pretty rare enough, and the odds of a shiny Pokemon depend on a lot of factors, and many people, including myself, didn't know this was a feature. But hey, it's out there, and let me know if you've caught any Pokemon Camp shinies. Staying on the topic of Pokemon Sword and Shield, Sinestro has a 1 in 409,600 chance of being shiny. Sort of. See, there are 2 forms of Sinestro, the normal and the authentic form. The only difference between the authentic form and the regular form is that the authentic form has a little marking under its body, and that's about it. The odds of encountering an authentic Sinestro at best are around 1%. This means that there's a 1 in 409,600 chance of encountering a shiny one. Generation 1 Pokemon that are caught in red, blue, and yellow can be shiny. Sort of. See, shiny Pokemon weren't introduced until the 2nd generation, meaning that there's no way to find a shiny Pokemon. Wrong. See, Pokemon traded from Red, Blue, and Yellow to Gold, Silver, and Crystal can be shiny after the trade depending on the Pokemon's IVs. The issue is you can't tell by the IVs because there are other factors, meaning the only way to truly check is to trade. Gallade and Frostlass both share the next entry in the Generation 4 games, Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, because they're equally as hard to get for the exact same reason. Both Pokemon require a certain gender to evolve, meaning the odds of finding a shiny male Ralts and a female shiny Snorunt is 1 in 16,384. This is twice than the normal 1 in 8,192 shiny odds. Funnily enough, Gardevoir doesn't have this problem because it doesn't need to be a certain gender to evolve. Unknown is a pretty obscure gimmick Pokemon being based off the English alphabet. In order to shiny hunt them, you first need to solve the floor puzzles and then get the Unknown report to catch them. There are 29 Unknown forms, which range from a 10% chance to encounter them to a 3.8% chance to encounter them. It is a requirement to catch every Unknown in order to even start shiny hunting for a shiny question mark or exclamation mark Unknown. Come on, it's not even that different, and you would spend the same amount of time prepping than it would for you to actually find the shiny Unknown. Scarlet and Violet had its own fair share of rare shiny Pokemon, but not what you think. Based on the graphics, lighting, and size of the Pokemon, sometimes they can be pretty hard to miss. Charcadet, Toxicgeary, and Tadbulb are quite small and therefore pretty easy to miss. Sandy Shock's location's lighting is pretty bad, so it can also be hard to miss. Overall, modern Pokemon have made shiny Pokemon much more accessible, but those are just some noteworthy ones. A shiny Detective Pikachu is so rare that many players thought it was fake. In May 2019, Niantic celebrated the release of the Detective Pikachu movie with a special event in Pokemon Go. The in-game celebration featured various Pokemon that made appearances in the live-action film, such as Charizard, Lickitung, and Mr. Mime. However, the main event's feature was a Pikachu that spawned in wearing a detective hat from the movie and the original 3DS game. Unlike most Pokemon in the mobile title though, the variant wasn't catchable in a shiny variant, or at least that's what most players thought at the time. Niantic had turned off the shiny feature during the Detective Pikachu celebration for Pikachu before eventually turning it back on after May 17th. Players who took a snapshot of their Pokemon got photobombed, but they were actually able to encounter a shiny Detective Pikachu if they waited to encounter it after the event ended. But because of the shiny Pokemon Go spawns, most players didn't know it existed. Despite the mobile app having millions of players around the world, only a few people actually have the rare shiny Pokemon. Even in 2023, there is a debate among fans as to whether the rare variant is legitimate. This is due to it only spawning by mistake after the event ended. But with Detective Pikachu being back both in game and movie form, we may see this Pokemon again. Like Pikachu, there are some other Pokemon in Pokemon Go that are rare. You might be confused as to why these games are here because the base odds are only 1 in 512 for all Pokemon. However, once in a while, for various anniversaries and events, Pokemon will spawn wearing special hats like Detective Pikachu. They're still at the base 1 in 512 odds, but these Pokemon are only there for an extremely limited amount of time, making them pretty rare. During the GBA days, there was an event at Nintendo New York that allowed players to get a Spectral Celebi. However, there was a 1% chance of it being shiny. But then there was also a 0.1% chance of something weird happening. See, Mew could hijack your game and become shiny. You can no longer do this hunt, and given the fact that it ran for a limited time and other people created lines, this hunt became very hard to do, and to this day it's the only way to obtain a shiny Mew legitimately. In Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, you could get more of the legendary birds. Many people don't know this, but if you fly around, there's a rare chance that one of the legendary birds will spawn. There's also a chance of them being shiny, and given the fact that catch combos don't affect them spawning or being shiny, they're incredibly rare as is. Pokemon has become notorious for its long cutscenes in recent history. In Pokemon Sun and Moon, to check if your starter is shiny, you have to watch a 3-minute cutscene. Thankfully, Ultra Sun and Moon reduced the cutscene, but come on, 2 minutes and 30 seconds is still a lot. Generation 7 also isn't the first time that Pokemon had a long cutscene, as in Pokemon X and Y, the cutscene is also 2 minutes and 30 seconds. You first have to receive Oak's letter, and then the Pokedex, and as you're leaving, Shauna will want to battle you, and then you can finally check if your Pokemon is shiny in battle. Luckily, Pokemon Sword and Shield remedied this problem with the cutscene being non-existent, is what I would say, but Game Freak shiny locked the Pokemon, so there's that. Now we're entering the super rare territory. The cream of the crop, some would say. Kicking the list off is shiny Vespiquen in Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, or Platinum. Vespiquen has a weird quirk where only the females can evolve. For those who don't know, the odds of a female Combee is just under 13%. To make things worse, in order to get a female Combee, you need to slather honey on a honey tree and wait 8 real-world hours. Changing the time on your DS clock won't work. Did I also forget to mention that there's only a 20% chance for Combee to spawn? Yeah, you're gonna be here for months. Shiny Feebas might be the rarest Generation 3 shiny. See, Feebas spawns on 6 tiles in Pokemon Emerald and 4 tiles in Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, or Platinum. There are hundreds of fishing tiles in both games. What tiles does Feebas spawn? Well, it's completely random depending on your save file, so you can't look it up. Did I also mention that there's a 50% chance to find Feebas on the tiles it spawns? This means you have to check multiple times on the same tile. Also, there's no way in Emerald to boost your shiny odds, meaning you're stuck with the blanket 1 in 8,192 shiny odds. Similarly, Munchlax can only be found on honey trees, but it's much more rare. See, Munchlax has a 1% chance of spawning. What makes it different than the other Pokemon is that there are 4 trees in the entire game where Munchlax spawns. What trees? Well, it's completely random and changes every time based on your save file's secret ID. And when I say ChatGPT did the math and found out that the odds of encountering a shiny Munchlax on a honey tree is 1 in 819,930. That is so insane, and you might as well be thinking, well, what's number 1? Surely nothing can be that rare, but there's one other Pokemon, coincidentally in Gen 4, that is universally agreed to be the hardest shiny Pokemon to shiny hunt ever, because shiny hunting for Manphy is almost impossible. Let me just lay the steps out if you're even crazy enough to attempt this hunt. First, you have to beat Pokemon Ranger, which takes around 11 hours according to how long to beat. Then you have to get a secret code for a new mission. Then you complete the mission to obtain the Manphy egg, which you then transfer to Diamond or Pearl. The catch is you can't soft reset because the Pokemon's attributes are all predetermined, including shininess right as you get the egg. This means you have one shot being 1 in 8,192 to get the shiny. Okay, so why can't you just reset Ranger and do the mission again? Here's the other catch. The password that you receive works one time, meaning if you want another egg, you have to play through an 11-hour game plus another side quest to even have a shot of finding this Pokemon. Also, did I mention that there's one code per game, not save file, meaning you need to have multiple copies of Ranger, making this hunt time consuming and pretty expensive. Well, there we have it. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have a video suggestion, tell me in the comments below. Also, tell me your favorite shiny Pokemon. And you might as well subscribe to the channel where you're down there for daily Pokemon content. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day. Peace.